Hi, and welcome to the Startup and Running podcast, where we put the running back into running your business. I'm Ange McDonald, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Peter Brisbane. Hi, Peter.
Hello, everyone.
Today, we have a very special guest on the podcast. We are talking to Jimmy McCleery. He is an ultraman triathlete, a plant-based endurance athlete, but he's also an amazing entrepreneur. He has launched more than 7 companies, and his latest endeavor is one you have probably heard of. Jimmy is the co-founder of Aid Station. Aid Station is Australia's one-stop shop for all of your nutrition products for endurance athletes. If there's a product you've heard of, a gel, a supplement, ketones, anything that you want to try, more than likely you can get it from Aid Station.
Mouth tape.
So mouth tape, nose tape, they've got various accessories. This was one of Jimmy's endeavors because before something like Aid Station, you would have to go around to maybe your local running shop or bike shop, and not everyone had everything. And now you can get everything in the one spot. So we were delighted to talk to Jimmy. He was a font of knowledge. Could have listened to him all day.
I also just loved his mindset. I think,
yes,
especially as an endurance athlete who is sort of progressing to their 40s or in their 40s, it was really good to hear about his approach to life, really sort of removing anything from his life that has the potential to affect his best performance. I think that's really good in the context of us thinking about that 1% of how we get the most out of our body.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very inspiring. And I hope you will all enjoy our conversation with Jimmy. Before we get to that, we should have our traditional running update. Peter, how's your running going?
I would say mine's still not the best. There was
a bit of trepidation in my question as I asked.
Yeah, a lot of work travel, long days, and it's taking my energy. So I've got to find a way to sort of break through that and get into things so that I'm increasing my distance, because I can see on your whiteboard behind you, not that others can see it in this listening context, that it says Gold Coast Marathon 20 weeks. It's getting close to ticking down to 19, so I really need to sort of shake myself into gear. And actually, the conversation with Jimmy was really helpful in thinking about the things that I need to focus on in my life to help with my energy so that I'm actually in a better position to go out and run. Because at the moment, it's the feeling, it's my body, the way my body's feeling before I even attempt to run, that's my barrier.
Yeah.
It's something I need to unpack quite swiftly and look forward to reporting back. How are you going?
Well,
I feel like you're really smashing it out.
Yeah, I'm enjoying being home, being back in a routine. I think that's the hard thing for you at the moment, is because you're out of your normal routine. And so it's, that would be super difficult. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm getting my volume up. So I did about 35 Ks this week. I did a PB, a parkrun.
Yay, that's so good.
Into the 26s.
That's just so amazing. So amazing. You're on the right trajectory.
Yeah, 26:46 was my parkrun yesterday. So I was thrilled with that. I was aiming to get under 27, and at the end of it, I did not think I had achieved that. So it was.
What did your watch say? Did you have to wait until you got your official result to know for sure?
No, so that's the thing, because I have my parkrun barcode on my watch. So as soon as I stop running, I stop it and then I save it, and then I get out of those screens so I can scan. And so I didn't know straight away, but I had it set with a goal. So one of the things you can do with your Garmin is say, I want to do 5Ks in whatever amount of time. And then it comes up with a screen that estimates how long it will take you to do the pace, to do the distance that you've set. And as I was looking at that, it was like most of the run, it was like 27 something.
Yeah.
So I had thought that I had not achieved 27. I thought it was, like a low 27s, but something in the 27s, which I was like, that's cool.
Still great.
And then I checked the Strava, and I was like, I think the Strava said like 26:49 or something.
Yay!
Yay!
So good.
So that was cool. It was the first time ever I came first in my age group.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Like first woman.
Yeah.
First woman. Yeah. And 10th woman overall.
Amazing.
So, dude, I'm getting up there. There's a young woman. I say young woman because she was definitely younger than me.
What has become of us?
I was running.
Are we middle-aged? When I was talking about getting to 40 just before, I was like, is that middle-aged? I don't know these days.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so.
So, sorry, a young woman. Continue.
Anyway, no, so I've seen her a few times, and she's always faster than me, and I was like, I'll try and like pace behind her. And then I like overtook her at one point, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what's happening. And then she came back past me a bit further along, and then I caught up with her, and I noticed she was like rubbing her hip, and I was I like caught up to her. I was like, oh, you're injured. She was like, oh yeah, I did a half marathon a couple of weeks ago, and blah blah blah. I was like, oh, I wondered why I was able to keep up with you today. It's like, you're usually much faster than me. Anyway, so that was fun.
Yeah,
she was very encouraging. She was like, go.
Yeah, so good. So good.
Yeah.
Well done.
I enjoy our little parkrun community.
It's good. And it's a good motivation, isn't it?
It is. Well, I had thought that it was going to be a very slow parkrun for me, intentionally, because I was trying to get my sister to come along.
Oh, yeah.
But then something at the last minute happened. She couldn't come. So I was like, all right, well, it's on.
It's on, and you're going for it. Love it.
Go for it. Probably will be quite slow next week. So that's all good.
No, I don't know. I feel like,
well, if she comes, then
okay.
I'll be walking and running with her. So. I'm trying to get the whole family along.
Yeah.
You were just the first person in my desire to try and convert everyone.
I've got my family along, my dog and my husband. But
yes.
I haven't been good at parkrun because after traveling all week, I just can't get myself to get out and get going.
Totally fair.
Yeah. But again, I just need to center myself a bit and get back to it. And I look forward to reporting my progress with you all.
You'll get there. I have no doubt. If nothing else, the counting down timer will be motivating.
My life at the moment is a series of juggling balls. The priorities moving. Which balls I'm holding on to are moving. So as the countdown of the weeks towards the marathon drops, that ball will become front and center.
Yeah. How's your caffeine habit going?
A lot better. I've stopped having it most days. I probably had it like twice last week. So 2 days out of 7, I think, is quite good. So I've really sort of tried to eliminate it. I have taken up having matcha lattes to sort of still be part of the coffee run situation.
Yeah.
Not every day because it's really expensive. But that's a good. I recommend that because apparently it still has a fair bit of caffeine, nothing as much as coffee, but it also the caffeine releases a lot more smoothly than coffee.
Right.
So I think it's a lot better.
Right. My 10-year-old loves a matcha latte.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of caffeine in it for a child. So
yeah. I was like, maybe that explains some things.
Yeah.
No. She's like 10 going on 16.
Yeah.
So
just make sure she has it in the morning, that's all.
Yeah. No matcha after midday.
But I'm happy that I've really, and this conversation with Jimmy really sort of hit home for me on this topic to sort of hold firm with it as well, because that I actively notice it's not good for my body. So why am I even putting it into my body?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was reflecting, so, spoilers for our conversation with Jimmy, but we have a bit of a discussion about caffeine and coffee and the benefits of maybe limiting that. And but through that conversation, I was like, I feel like the coffee that I have is not very strong. Like, because often I'll just have it like an instant one at home. I don't
I'm
think
not
there's
sure
hardly
that
anything in that.
counts.
No. And then when I do have a coffee out, I'll just have I would only ever have most like one coffee out a day. I say that I've had two out today, but generally that's an anomaly. Generally, I'd only have one out, and
I think that's
that's
okay.
pretty limited.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
I mean, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I think. Like,
Yeah.
but it made me think, geez, how much coffee are other people having?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Some people have they'll have coffee at home. Once they get to the office, they'll have one, and then they'll have a second one. And these all could be doubles. There's a lot of coffee drinking going on, and I don't think
Yeah.
it's you and I.
No, I've got a little coffee machine at home, but I feel like whenever I make a coffee from that, it's like weaker
Yeah.
than what I would buy out.
Yeah, we have a
So,
filter coffee machine actually, and I have if I make a coffee from that, I'm like, whoa, that's too much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
No.
do it. Well, all right. Well, good luck everyone if you're drinking that amount of coffee every day.
Yeah, I mean, listen to what Jimmy has to say. For me, it's
Yeah.
not right for me, so I'm really going to try and kick the habit, but it's fine if you're having coffee, if it works for you.
Yeah. I think we mentioned that, you can actually, it's your body's response to coffee is actually a genetic trait.
And I think I have a not so good reaction.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, that's enough from us, because I don't know about you, Peter, but I'm very eager to listen to this conversation with Jimmy that we had. If you want to go check out Aid Station, I think they're Aid STN on Instagram, aidstation.com.au if you're in Australia, aidstation.com if you're elsewhere. Great business, and wonderful founder who is so generous with his time. So definitely go along and check them out. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with Jimmy. Tell us a little bit about how you started Aid Station and what inspired you to start that business.
Yeah, it's I guess like Aid Station came about. The idea obviously came about when I was training and racing for Ultraman, and so this is back in 2022. It was actually, the race was meant to be 2021, but because of the pandemic, I literally pretty much done all the training in 2021, and they cancelled the race. I think it was 4 weeks, 4 weeks before. And, at the time training for Ultraman is like, it's a lot. It's a lot of hours. It's like 25, 30 hours a week of training. So,
Gosh,
it was pretty deflating, but, they rolled over all the applications, to the next year. And, I said to myself, I didn't think I could probably do that level of training again. Obviously, we had another business, and that was sit there idle through the pandemic, and there was just so much stress and pressure, financial pressure, and obviously being in Melbourne at that time was, like being locked up. So it wasn't a very pleasant time, but fast forward, I said to my partner, Maddie, let's just, go for it. There was her encouragement. She's like, let's just do it. Train as much as you possibly can and race. And, the idea, I guess, came about probably a week or two before the actual race. So in 2022, when I was buying all of my nutrition for Ultraman.
yeah.
And, yeah, like I was just driving around Melbourne to the running stores and the bike stores at the time, and I quickly realised that if I wasn't a fan of Cliff Bar or maybe Morton, I think Morton was in a couple of shops at the time. That there wasn't really many options for me, and a, a 3-day race requires $1,000 worth of nutrition, really. So that was kind of I thought to myself then, like, why is nobody doing this, and why is nobody doing it on kind of like a grand scale? And planted the idea with my partner, Medi, who's my life partner and co-founder of Aid Station, and we have experience in e-commerce, so multiple businesses in e-commerce, and that was how it kind of started. And I guess after the race, we did a little bit of work on it, and we were like, this is kind of what we'll do, and these are the brands that we'll start with. And then we kind of decided that we wouldn't start it because our other business, Hike and Seek, so we had come out of lockdown and tourism was coming back, right? Yeah. So there was this period where our other business was growing again, and then they shut everything back down again. So Dan Andrews shut everything down, and then so it was just this weird period where we would open and then close. So I guess long story short, or a short story very long, is we didn't actually start it until February. So that was probably about 8 months after we had the idea. So
wow, that's actually not that long. So that's what, 2 years ago?
We just turned 3. So it's 3 years old.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. And it's been a wild ride.
I only kind of got into endurance sports and running at the start of last year. And so for me, I was like, you've just been a staple of, like, I've always seen Aid Station advertised, and I wasn't really aware that it was a inspiration, a pandemic inspired business. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it just goes to show how, how well you've built the brand in that time.
Yeah, thank you. It's you know what, like, it's when I say, like, we were hurting, like we were really hurting. Like we started Aid Station with our last $2,000, and like we were broke, and so we're quite adventurous, me and Matt, and we just like, let's just do it. Like, we knew we had a good idea, and we knew that we would be able to create a really cool company, and we're super proud of what we've been able to achieve.
Did you find out along the way why other people hadn't come up with this idea? There's some challenges.
Oh, there's challenges. It's I think on the front side of it, or face value, like, Aid Station is quite neat and organised. With but like in the back end, it is pretty organised. I'll be pretty honest, but there's so much that goes into it, and there's so much that goes into e-commerce in general, and to, even for an ad to come across your screen, and, the data that you have to analyze and all of that. So, I mean, challenges, there's been so many challenges, and, every single day there's something new. But that's the excitement, right? It's, challenges are good because they're meant to be there, and you overcome it, and you learn a lot. And I think, as long as you're kind of not making those same mistakes repeatedly, then, it's a good learning curve.
It sounds like challenges and risk-taking is sort of central to what you're doing with Aid Station. If you started with your last $2,000 and you managed to get this off the ground.
Yes. I think, honestly, like with any business, like, like, for me, so Aid Station is my 7th business that I've started, and there've been some successes, and there's been, like, a lot of failures along the way, right? And I started my first business when I was 22, 23. Just got back from Canada, was chasing, like, a snowboarding dream of mine that I had since I was a kid. And, all I wanted to do was be a professional snowboarder growing up, and had some injuries. And, when I came back, I just really started to wet the palate in the business side of that industry, and working as a rep, and, getting into distribution and learning retail. I've been involved in retail like forever. And, I think that risk part of it is, I think, and even with like a lot of my friends or people that I meet over the years, there's, everybody's got like a cool idea, right? So many people have cool ideas, but like not many of them take the action to do that. And that's what you got to do. Like you don't have to have the answers. And I mean, we definitely don't have the answers. Like we didn't have the answers when we started. But you learn them, and, you learn pretty quickly on the job, so to speak.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that's so inspiring. You're so right. I mean, I think everyone's got that, at least one idea for one good idea, but yeah, very few people are actually trying to put that into motion.
Yeah.
I thought of Uber when I was 8 years old, and I tell people this. I should have acted on it, maybe.
So you've been an entrepreneur.
Got away.
You've been an entrepreneur since you were 8.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think so. Like I've always, coming from my family had a small business.
Yeah.
And, same with, aunties and uncles, and like everybody I kind of knew, I think, through my dad's and mum and dad's friends were all, they're all just workers and plumbers or tradies or whatever. And yeah, I think, we were fortunate enough, mum and dad sent myself and my sister to private school. So it's kind of like, inspired by kind of both sides, I would say, from like that hardworking element, and obviously kind of excited with that level of business from pretty an early age. But I was a terrible student, so it's funny how things evolve.
I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs were probably terrible students, because there's sort of a creative mindset that's probably not conducive to school.
I agree. Like you do hear like the Richard Bransons and the likes of the world, and yeah, it's pretty common. And there is some fun stat that I'll probably mess up if I try to repeat it, but it's I think it's something like more D students go on to be entrepreneurs than A students, and there's something in that, and that was definitely for me, because it wasn't like I didn't. If I really liked something, I would push everything out of the way just to focus on it and to be good at it. But I just, you just have to find the thing that you're really passionate about. And, endurance sports is one of those things for me.
So how did you get into like training for an ultraman? Obviously that's not where you start with endurance sports.
Definitely not. Some people do though, so, but yeah, it's pretty inspirational. But for me, like I was definitely the kid in the backyard pretending to be Trevor Hendy, or just Kellogg's Nutrigrain Ironman from back in the day. And I think, I grew up in a place called Eltham, which is like 35 minutes, 40 minutes from Melbourne CBD. And it was very green, and we were just always outdoors. And, at the time, Channel 10 was always playing Iron Man up in the Gold Coast, right? And it was like it was huge. And so that was from an early age, that really inspired me, and occasionally on Wild World of Sports, you would see Kona, right?
Yes.
You'd see these crazy people doing these super, long races and triathlon. So that, I think one of my earliest memories of triathlon, I was probably only like 10 years old. So maybe 8, and so I'd run around the block, and I'd be on my skateboard pretending to be an Ironman, right? And so it's always been there for me, and it sounds ridiculous even just to tell you guys about it, but I've always loved it. And like, I would set myself these little like, races in the backyard. Like our driveway was on a hill, so I'd try to pull myself up the driveway with my hands on a skateboard, and and just set these challenges for myself, and celebrate when I got to the top. So it's always been there, and it wasn't like I. Yeah, I was definitely like really into it, and I ran at school, and I did cross country and played football, and snowboarding obviously took over. And then I kind of lost my way. Like I lost my way with it all. And, as lots of people, I went and partied too much and kind of, really lost my passion for a lot of things. And honestly, it wasn't until um, another business of mine, like, so after my 30th birthday, I was in a really dark place and, really, really struggling and, to the point where I didn't think I had a way out. Right. And, I remember going to the doctor and, the doctor's like, you've got to obviously seek some help and get on some antidepressants and go, and do this now, basically. And I spoke to my mum about it, and mum was like, "Yeah, make sure you listen to the doctors and do all that kind of stuff." And I decided to put my runners on, and I don't know why I decided to do it or where it came from, but um, where I was living at the time in St Kilda, I ran down to Alwood Surf Lifesaving Club, which was probably 3 k's, and I was dying, to be honest with you. Like that's like the level of fitness that I had at that time, and I was probably 20 kilos heavier than I am now, and but something that day changed in me, and I was just like, it was like for 10 years of my life, potentially even 15 years of my life, I just lost my way. Like I truly, like when I was a kid, I had the athletic mindset and all I wanted to do was be a sports person. And then, around 16, 17, I kind of just lost my way. I was still me, but just I lost that taste of it and got it back when I was probably 31 or 32. And from then, it's been pretty much full gas, I would say. Like just ran all the time and started racing triathlon a few years later, probably about 35, and started with sprints, triathlon, and kind of just progressed. So went to sprints, did 70.3, did a few Ironmans, got inspired by Rich Roll, on one of his podcasts, I think, because he hit the Fab Five, what he did around 5 Ironman. So yeah, Hawaii. So those little, and it was all at a time where obviously being plant based, it was a big passion of mine, and obviously Rich Roll was plant based, and so I was inspired a lot there.
Yeah.
And so I always had Ultraman kind of in the back of my mind. So that's where it really started.
It's such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's the reason we love talking about running is because it's such a, like other endurance things, it can be so powerful in terms of what it brings to your life. And I think a lot of people kind of lose their way in their 20s a bit. And then you have to sort of recenter on your values and what's most important to you. And that's when you sort of come back to life.
Yeah, I think particularly with sports and activity, when you're in school, it's always built in, right? It's just part of the fabric of your environment. And when you leave, unless you're proactive about it and you're putting things in place for yourself, then you do just you're kind of left in a abyss in terms of what to do. And I think that has and then there's lots of other things that are far more potentially interesting and distracting, if not good for you. But I think it is so interesting, and I think it is a story that will resonate with a lot of people listening, that kind of coming into your 30s and just realizing you need to do something. And I think the mental health part of it as well is so important. And that is, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I enjoy running, is that it really helps me with my mental health.
For sure.
Absolutely. Sorry, that was getting a bit emotional when you talked about that. You mentioned Rich Roll. His book was a big inspiration for me as well when I went plant-based. And at the time, I was like, oh, I don't know if endurance sports are in my wheelhouse, but I'm a big fan of his and his podcast, and he's I think a big inspiration for a lot of plant-based athletes.
Yeah.
How has being plant-based affected Aid Station, if at all?
Yeah, good question. I think I think what Rich does very well, just to touch on Rich a little bit, like Rich has his own beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And he's very focused on himself, and he doesn't try to, jam it down people's throats either.
No.
And, I think that's really important because, from my experience, like, it's not my position to tell people how to live their life or what to eat. You do what's right for you. And that's how, myself and Mets have always been with plant-based. Like we love it. We love eating healthy, and we love eating fresh fruit and, all the good stuff. And I think, with the lifestyle that, we don't drink either. And I was saying before to Ange that and I'm sure a lot of your viewers listeners won't like this one, but I've given up coffee as well, which is they're gonna ship me out of Melbourne now for saying that. But it's these things all have played like a huge, like they're actually like big points in my life where there's been significant changes. And going plant based, obviously, by feeling good, by eating healthy, I was like, why do we even drink alcohol? And so that was kind of the next thing that kind of went, because it's like you're doing all this work on yourself and being so healthy that you're obviously drinking alcohol. And once again, it's completely up to the individual, but that's how I was feeling. And it's been great, obviously, to have somebody you love next to you the whole way who does the same thing, and more recently, obviously, with caffeine, it's that's been a big thing for us because we work a lot. Like Aid Station employs 26 people now, and it's it's not a little small business. Like we actually started Aid Station from this room that I'm in 3 years ago, right, from home. And so it's been such a full-on experience, and we've just needed to be as sharp as we possibly could, right? And the caffeine thing was just like we were worn out. Like we felt like at the end of last year, like we'd used all our adrenal, like we were cooked, and we needed to make a change. And thanks to YouTube again, I think it was, went down the rabbit hole on caffeine, and I was just like, I'm actually going to do this. And the first week was horrendous. Like we were literally in bed for a few days, coming off caffeine, and it's been a game changer for us. So all of those things like have been positive. Not directly at Aid Station. I mean, the caffeine definitely has. I feel like I'm way more confident, and I'm just not as anxious, at work, which is a big thing for me, because work's hard, right? And running a business is hard, and everybody looks to me quite often in the business like I have all the answers all the time, and there's a lot of decisions that I have to make like during the day quite quickly without really thinking about them, right? So there's a lot of feel that goes into it, and that gives you anxiety, and it gives you a lot of stress. So that's pretty much been eliminated, which has been good. So, it's a caffeine free, but good. There is good decaf coffee, so we do drink decaf at the moment, which is great.
And how much? I'm super interested in this topic because I do not respond well to coffee, but somehow in the last few months, because of work being hectic or whatever reason, I started drinking it every day. I'm now trying to stop that. But how many cups a day were you drinking to sort of have such withdrawals?
So, so my partner Medi, she's from Helsinki, so she's from Finland, and we have a mocha master, filtered coffee. And so the Finns are actually renowned. So they drink the most coffee in the world per capita, right? And I kid you not, they drink like 10 cups of coffee a day, black coffee. So our mornings typically would start like if I was going to the pool or training, I'd put like a pot, not a pot, but I'd put coffee on the mocha master. So we would have like 2 mugs of black coffee to start the day.
Okay.
Right. And so we would have 3 mugs, which is equivalent to 6, essentially 6 black coffees a day. That's where we got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
is a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Because it definitely creates for me physical anxiety, feelings of physical anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, it's this loop, right? Because, we would wake up, fatigued. I was constantly tired and, it was really hard for me to get consistency with training because I wasn't recovering properly and I was just fatigued. And then you have a coffee and then you feel good. And then that would wear off an hour later or 2 hours later. And it was just like this constant thing. And then, we would get home and we were just dead, we would just and it's just like, even like our eating habits, like it's still obviously being plant-based, but it's, being busy and, tired is a bad combo. And, because you're not prioritizing yourself, you're not ordering food or you're not going to the shop to get the appropriate food. So you settle for like a toasted sandwich or something, and it's like that was that part of our life, which we're really trying to focus on this year. You go back to when I was like racing Ultraman and didn't have aid station, like we were just like so clean. Everything that we ate was just because we had the time, you know. So it's really hard to do everything well. So I think you just got to kind of pick your battles, and we hope we're in a position kind of this year to really get back into really focusing on ourselves a little bit more. But the reality is that it might not come for a few more years because it's just crazy busy, right?
It seems like you're taking it's a constant forward progress though. So you've done the plant-based thing, then the alcohol came after that. That's interesting you raised that as well because I've recently given it up for I think similar reasons. Like why am I just felt horrible after drinking. It's like why am I doing that?
Yeah. It's hard to give up though, isn't it? Like it's just that
much easier
element.
now. Much easier now with all of the like non-alcoholic options.
For sure.
So for me, it's not something that I don't drink at home. I would only ever drink if I'm out socializing. And so for me, it's been much easier because there are non-alcoholic options when you go out to socialize. And so like, okay, great. And most of the time people don't even know. So you don't have to deal with that. Oh, why are you drinking? Kind of response if you say, oh, I just want a water or a Coke or something.
Totally. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
And then you've taken the kind of caffeine coffee step. Are you still using caffeine in your nutrition for racing, or have you cut that out as well?
So the only caffeine I think that I've had since stopping is in green tea, and which has been very minimal. anyway, I would definitely still race with caffeine. No doubt about it. Like caffeine is an amazing stimulant, and yeah, I'm not denying that. Like it's incredible, but I think there's a time and a place for it, and with lots of things that are wrong probably in this world, which is probably for another conversation. I think it's just that overconsumption of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just and it's like we get so reliant on it, and maybe a coffee on a Saturday morning, at the coffee shop is all you really need. So
Yeah.
mm. But yeah, yes to caffeine on race day.
Excellent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I still don't know if I could. I feel like it'd make me sick. Oh, well, maybe we need to trial it before the marathon ends.
Yeah, well, I mean, you raise a good point. So Peter and I are training for the Gold Coast Marathon in July. So we're doing a bit of base training at the moment. We'll start our proper training block in a couple of weeks. And so obviously we need to start working on our fueling, both in practice for race day, but also just making sure we're fueling our training appropriately so that we're recovering. There are so many options on aid station.
Yeah.
And I often find myself, I've got the app on my phone, and I often find myself on there going, oh, that. And they're like, oh, but do I need that? And are they the same thing? Or, are they different things? And should I get the one with caffeine or not? How can we simplify this process? Or, do you have, some people swear by certain brands. Are they all kind of the same, or like help us out here?
Yeah, help you out. Okay, so the inside scoop of sports nutrition is fuel yourself correctly before sports nutrition. Okay, so what that means is like, if you're going to be putting in the effort of training, fuel yourself correctly, outside of training, and eat healthy. And it goes a long way. Sleep well. You've probably all heard it before, but like sleep, make sure you're getting the right amount of sleep. And, if you've got a hard session coming up the next day, like a tempo run or something, then, eat a carb heavy meal the night before, and just make sure that your glycogen stores are obviously where they need to be, right? And get carbs into you as quick as you can. Get some protein to after a hard session as well. But healthy food is the answer. In general, sports nutrition is a fantastic vehicle for performance, right? And you shouldn't rely on that if you have a bad diet. So I think that's probably first and foremost. And it's the distances that we cover, obviously, in endurance sports. You typically can't do it by making a jam sandwich, and it's hard. It's hard work. And I've tried. Like, I was very strict. When I went plant based, and I would train with dates and all kinds of products, right? And it just wasn't. It works to a certain point, right? And so, yeah, I mean, sports nutrition is fantastic, and it allows you to get the very best out of yourself. Okay, so that's probably the why you need it. But I think like navigating aid station and all the products that we have, and can be overwhelming, right? And it can be challenging. But I think probably the best thing, if you're a new runner, or just new to endurance sports in general, is ask around, ask your mates what they're taking. I mean, the one thing what we all love as endurance athletes is we love sharing. Like, we love sharing information, right? What shoes are the best? What goggles are the best? Like, did you see my last 10K run on Strava? Like, it's it's all fun, and so definitely ask people around you. And but from aid station, like, get some bundles going. Like, bundles are a great way to try different products. They're cheaper. We obviously discount them, and I think learning, like, quite often, like, we have a motto on aid station that nutrition is the first discipline. right? And, it comes from triathlon where you have the 3 disciplines, and quite often they say the 4th discipline is nutrition, and it never really stuck well with me. I was like, well, nutrition comes after, but it's the first thing. And so yeah, like it's learning about that, learning the carbohydrates that you require for it is key, and trying different flavors. And I think I said this to you before, Angie, when we weren't recording, but there is such things as flavor fatigue. Products that I used, last year or the year before, I probably don't use now. Is the excitement of sports nutrition. There is a new flavor around the corner, and so immerse yourself with it. It can be fun, and once you kind of navigate that and get comfortable, try to stick to it. And I think if you are comfortable with what you can stomach, obviously, and you know how to fuel yourself for the run the next day, or a long run on a Sunday or a race, then you're going to get the maximum out of your experience. Because time and time again, like you see people who go out and they'll spend $350 on a pair of New Balance or Nike Carbons, right? But they're under fueling, and doesn't matter what super shoes you got on, you're not going to run any faster without carbs on board. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So learn how to fuel yourself is probably my biggest advice, and it's not as complicated as you think. I think you just got to start somewhere, grab some gels, and test them out.
We've got 20 weeks of testing available to us.
You do, yeah.
I can see it on your whiteboard, Ange.
Got to remind myself when I'm working.
Yep.
Yeah, I think with that as well, like it's goal times. If you are, if you're planning on running a 3-hour marathon or a 4-hour marathon or whatever it is, kind of work backwards from that as well, right? So, the rule of thumb, is 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates, right? Personally, I consume more, but I've been using sports nutrition for a while, and from a triathlon background, like most triathletes are tending to go heavier in carbs now, but that doesn't happen overnight. I wouldn't recommend just doing that on your first round.
Yeah, it's I think that change for me, it's happened really quickly because well, obviously I only just started, but when I did my first half marathon last year, and I think everyone was talking about 20 grams of carbs kind of every 45 minutes, or something like that, and now everyone's talking about at least 60, probably 90. Maybe going further if you you can train your body to do that. And I think you see fewer people kind of bonking who are who have the fuel on board to keep going.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's not always up to the intake of carbohydrate as well, and I think a lot of people get a bit confused with that, because you're not if you're running for an hour and you're consuming 60 grams of carbohydrate in the last 5 minutes of that hour, right? It's kind of defeating the purpose. So I would say evenly spread it, and you don't have to just slam a gel because it's in your hand, and get it all the way down. You can just take little bits of that, over like a 10-minute period or a 15-minute period, whatever it is. So there's ways of doing that instead of just getting the full carb injection straight away. You know what I mean? So just spread it out a little bit. It might be a bit more easier on the stomach as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your favourite things on Aid Station at the moment?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I'll tell you what my dailies are. So I use Modex daily. I really love that product.
What's Modex?
That's a good question. I'm gonna jump into the science here, but
Yeah.
basically, it's one of the most studied active ingredients, and it's maritime pine bark extract, right? And basically, it's really good for blood flow and recovery and fitness. So it's just a really good thing to have daily. There's what else do I do? So it's probably going to sound quite weird, but I tape my mouth up at night time, and I also sleep with loops in my ears, and I put on nose tape these days as well. So these are little changes that I've made which make me sleep like a baby.
So I've been on the edge of wanting to try mouth tape for a few months. So this is my final push that I need to give it a go.
Yeah, I would definitely highly recommend it. Like, you look like a bit of a weirdo doing it, but do it. It's amazing. I always struggled kind of nose breathing while I slept, and it's been a game changer for me. It takes a while to get used to it, and I've even noticed, like, I mean, there's no scientific evidence from this statement, but I honestly feel like I've actually become fitter by doing it as well. So I notice it when I'm running, and it's just like I feel like the capacity is a bit better.
Do you use nose tape when you run as well, or just when you sleep?
I haven't done it when I've been running, so that'll probably be the next thing. Every time I go out for a run, I'm like, I probably should put nose tape on, but keep forgetting.
I've been on the edge of getting nose tape for going running.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I read Scott Jurick's book years ago, and he was a huge fan of nose breathing.
Yeah.
So there's something in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really enjoying that we've got all the same kind of plant-based endurance athletes references.
Yeah.
That's a great book as well. I haven't read North though.
I haven't either, but I actually did Scott's mini burritos while I raced Ultraman. So,
and how was that?
Yeah, so that's, I think what I was getting at before is like with sports nutrition, like, for those 3 days I was racing, I mean, most of my energy came from real food, and I was substituting it with sports nutrition, obviously. And you need sodium, and you need electrolytes, and you need a bunch of other things other than carbohydrates. But in races like that, there's a lot of evidence that suggests like real food is key, right? And I can't remember how many mini burritos I ate on the bike that day, but I reckon it was probably not close to 20, not 100.
You're going to say 100, Jesus.
Yeah. I think you need to go into an eating competition.
Why exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, when I got off the bike that day, I'd put on 2 kilos.
Oh, wow.
So, but the great thing was that actually set me up for the double marathon the next day. And so it's an eating competition. So eat as much as you can.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So are you training for anything now?
I'm training. So like, it's a hard question for me to answer, to be honest with you, because it's, I'm training for sure. And I get like, 3 or 4 days, 5 days, of consistency, and then the wheels fall off. And only because of work, so it is a bit of a challenge, but I'm trying to race at Ironman Geelong in 5 weeks. Probably not. So probably Port Mac would be my next one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's up our way.
And then, Melbourne Marathon. I'm in for Gold Coast, but we're actually going to be in Finland that time of year. So if anybody wants a ticket, hit me up.
Are you excellent?
My email will explode tomorrow.
Yeah. With a marathon, do you even sort of have to plan for that because a marathon in the scheme of what you do generally is quite small. Do you even sort of have to specifically train for a marathon?
Yeah, definitely. It's people. I've been asked that a few times, and they're just different beasts, right? And yeah, I've done the last marathon I did actually, Melbourne Marathon. I was just like, this will be a bit of a walk in the park. And it wasn't. Yeah, the wheels kind of came off at the 27K mark and just went out too fast and paid the price. So it's so different because the one thing I really love about longer races, it probably sounds a bit sick to some people, but you really beat yourself up, right? And you have to, and you have to go to these places that you mentally you've never gone before, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love really going deep and coming out the other side, and celebrating that. And I think with marathon running, sure you still do that, but like you have to run it so much faster. So it's a different pain, and it's as I said, it's a different beast, but they all hurt, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. Like I say that now I'm 42, and I had a really hard run yesterday. I had 5x2, 2Ks, and getting back to some decent speed, but that was just, it was disgusting. It hurt so much, but you feel amazing after it.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's good to know it's not easy even for you. So
it's not like, and it doesn't get easier, like this is, I think it, so when you first start, like when you first start, or when I first started running, when I went to our surf club that day, right? That was horrible. Like it hurt so bad. But that was because like, knees and Achilles and calf muscle and feet and all of this stuff that just needs to be warmed up, right? And you need to build that endurance in all parts of your body, not just in your lungs and your cardiovascular system. So that gets easier, that gets easier. But then you're also going further.
Yeah.
Right? Or you go faster. So it's like you're kind of chasing this thing that you never fully, like if it was easy, like would you really do it? And that's the thing, like would you go out and run a marathon if it was easy? I don't know. It wouldn't hit the same.
No.
So interesting that you say that. So I've been subscribing to the idea that if you make really difficult goals, then that's really beneficial, because even if you don't reach them, you're opening up yourself to an opportunity to perform in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise if you hadn't set a ridiculous goal. And I say that to preface. So Gold Coast will be my first marathon, but my goal is to do it in a Boston qualifying time, and I'll be 40. So it'll be amazing. 3 hours and 35 minutes. Now, I appreciate that that's kind of a ridiculous goal. But it's allowing me, like I'm training as if I'm absorbing information, and I like looking into all the fueling and everything, because like I have that goal. And if I didn't, I feel like quite confident at the moment that if I had to run the marathon in July without that goal, I could do it. And for me, like setting that ridiculous goal has been so much more motivating than just the idea, like just the singular idea of doing the marathon.
For sure. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, hopefully I will have done a marathon either way.
Yeah, and you will, right? Like no matter what, like you'll finish that day. But it's it's okay to things go out the window all the time, right? And it's how you act in the moment, which is the most important thing. And because quite often they make for more impactful moments in your life. And that's, like, as I said, like, if it was easy to run a marathon, like, marathon running wouldn't be a sport. It its caliber, you know,
Yeah.
and there wouldn't be all these people signing up to Melbourne Sydney Marathon and trying to get a ticket. Like so I'm glad it's really hard. But as I said, like it doesn't get easier, and that's the addiction is probably the word. But you know, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, often that gets floated around. You know, is it an addiction, or is it just something? Are you just so motivated just to get something out of yourself?
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's that for sure.
Yeah.
Although I do kind of feel withdrawal symptoms when I don't go out for a run.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. But that's just because you know the clarity that it gives you, right? And you know the headspace that it gives you.
Yeah.
I've actually been reading the 5 a.m. Club recently, and it was a book that I wanted to read for a while, and so I've come to the realization is if I don't train at 5 a.m. in the morning, that's when I won't be consistent, right?
Yeah.
So I've been getting up and, you know, training pretty consistently, and it's been great. But, you know, that book is really kind of, you know, it's got some great little points in it. And it's like, it's like you've really got to set yourself, you've really got to set that time for yourself every day.
Yeah.
Especially if you're so busy, and just try your best to just stick to it, because it's hard for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, during the pandemic, when I was training basically like a pro athlete, like a pro triathlete, like that was actually relatively easy versus what I have to do now.
Yeah.
And I'm training it at like a quarter of what I used to train, probably. And but it's different. It's different hard because you're so fatigued mentally from the challenges of work and business that quite often it's pretty easy to, you know, leave the swing gear in the back of the car and drive home, right?
Yeah.
Or so I think with that as well, like it's, you know, it's super important that you make plans with friends or join a run club or have someone around you. Start a podcast, right? Hold yourself accountable.
Yeah,
and
best way.
It does. It makes it so much easier not to be just another flaky Aussie and not show up, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just going to have to write down that the 5 a.m. Club book has been coming up on various lists of mine as well. So that's pushed me across the edge.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been around for a while. But
do you follow Nick Bear from BPN?
Yeah.
I saw a reel of him saying the other day, if I don't make time, then there won't be time. And I think that's so if I want to run, I need to get up and do that, because otherwise my family needs me, my business needs me. So I need to make that time at the start of the day, otherwise it's gone.
That's right. And you gotta, you win the morning, you win the day, right? And that's one of the quotes in the 5 a.m. Club, and it's so true. But yeah, Nick Bear's an amazing athlete, and I've been following him for a while. But he's with all athletes, like of all sports, right? They're athletes for a reason, and everybody's got the capacity to be good at these sports. But it's how you set your day up, and it's how you overcome adversity. And you've got to want to do it, and that is the hard part, because the couch is comfortable, Uber Eats is too easy. There's all these things, but it's not any easier for these athletes, but they're just so conscious of their decisions every day. And
they plan.
They plan. Yeah. But that's what makes greatness, right? And that greatness is like finishing a marathon, because that's awesome. That's great, or it's like greatness is making the Olympic team. Like it's all what you have in front of you, and how you manage your workload in your day to day to get the best out of yourself. Yeah.
I think what I've learned from our conversation, Jimmy, is that you should write a book.
Yeah.
Oh, I doubt that.
In all of your time, free time.
Yeah.
I am Yeah, I think you've got a lot of tips about life and everything. Also, I want to circle back to Aid Station for a moment because it's 3 years you've been going and you've already got 26 employees. That's incredibly impressive. What are the key things you've taken away that you sort of think have contributed to that success?
Like I think it would be wrong for me to say like it's all been from, you know, because we had this great idea, right? Like it's clearly evident that, you know, running in Australia and globally, you know, has basically exploded basically like the 80s, back in the 80s. And but there's also like the understanding of fueling, you know, is like going into the pandemic, like people were scared of carbohydrates, right?
Yeah.
And you know, there was a lot of things online that I used to follow. I was like low carb approach to training, and there's a lot of science behind it, and you know, it does work. You know, to certain points, right? Like there's good in it and there's bad in it, obviously, with everything. And you know, same with carbs. Like you know, having a moderate carb intake versus a high carb intake, right? So it's there's probably good and bad things about that as well, right? Um, but yeah, like so that success of obviously like the growth of endurance sports has been a catalyst, obviously, to aid station success. But I think you know personally, like having like running a business is a game of endurance, like it or not. Like that's what it is. And every single day, it's like I get up and I'm I'm trying to give my best possible performance. And some days I have shockers, right? Some days I walk in the door and I'm like, I don't want to be here. But I do, and I'm there. I'm trying to be a good leader. And you know, when we started Aid Station, me and Matt's like we were just like this business, like if we get this business to be big enough just to support both of us, like that's epic, right? Like that's what we want to do. You know, and yeah, like the first month when we opened, we had like one or two orders. One of those was my mum, you know, and it's like, yeah, mum. And then, you know, the next month when we started to like advertise, we started to get these names coming through. And I was like, I don't know this person. This person's not a part of my triathlon club. And then, you know, it started to slowly snowball. And, you know, I think, and I've done this so many times in my life where I've looked at successful people, right? And I'm like, they've got all the answers. Like they know. Like what's the recipe? What's the cheat sheet? Give it to me. But the reality is they don't, and I don't either. Okay, so but you learn along the way, and I mean, I know a lot more now than what I did 3 years ago. But you know, every day there's even meetings today, like there's new systems, there's you know, new Shopify Plus techniques and all this kind of stuff, and you just constantly evolve, right? So I think yeah, I won't put it down to one thing, but I mean maybe probably the biggest thing for us as a couple is me and Matt. Like it's both our businesses. She's you know, she's a fantastic creative. She being being raised in Finland gives her this level headedness is probably she balances me out really, really well, right? So I'm quite reactive, and you know, there's my brain kind of doesn't turn off, so I'm constantly thinking, and you know, so there's behind the aid station closed doors, like there's a gazillion ideas going all the time. So having your partner there is fantastic. So, we couldn't have done it without each other. And, that's probably our secret sauce, doing it together.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful. And I love your comparison to it being an endurance thing, because ultimately that's why we created the podcast, because of the links between running long distances and running a business.
Yeah. There's maybe I'll write a book about that one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It has been such a delight to chat with you today. I feel like I've learnt a lot from you, and I'm sure our listeners will feel the same way. How do people check out Aid Station if they haven't yet? What's the best thing for them to do?
If we haven't followed you around the internet, I do apologise to everybody. It's not me. But yeah, it's obviously the website is aidstation.com.au. You can, if there's any internationals, it's .com. We have an app you can download from the App Store or Google, which is really cool. And Instagram is just STN. And you can get me at Jimmy McCleery on Instagram as well, which I don't, to be honest with you, I don't look at it too often. So I deleted the app a while ago.
Yeah. I've been through that. Unfortunately, it's back on. It's back on the phone, but as a matter of necessity.
I always download it when I'm like waiting for something, right? Like you'll be like, I don't know, the doctors or whatever, you like download it, like, I'll kill some time. And then it grabs you again.
Yeah.
And you've got it, like, you just keep going down the rabbit hole.
Next, we'll work on our social media addictions next time.
Totally.
Thanks so much.